I am author Teresa Banks. Welcome back to Ellacec Publishing Live. I was saying, come on in here because today is Sunday, and I am reminded of a church song. I was at church earlier today. This song was not sung, but I'm reminded of a church song that says, "Come on in, take a seat. Come on in, take a seat, oh Lord." That was on my mind. That was on my mind. And so that's why I started out with, come on in, come on in. Hello to those of you that are watching and have taken a seat already. You're watching right now live, and a special hello to those of you that will check out Ellacec Publishing Live by way of the recording. Well, as promised, here I am live and in the flesh, the third Sunday of this month. And I'm going to be talking about a really interesting subject. I'm going to bring it across the screen here. And it is book publishing, developing an antagonist. That is quite the tongue twister to say, an antagonist. Doing that little pause in between. But at any rate, it is definitely a pleasure to be here with each and every one of you all during the show. If you want to drop some comments in the chat, whether you're watching by way of YouTube or Facebook, you are welcome to do so. And who knows, I might play something here across the screen, or I might just check it out a little bit later after the show. Well, you know the topic, and before I hop all the way right in, you know that I always begin by asking, if you have not done so already, to please like, share, and follow the Facebook page of Ellacec Publishing, and also, if you could, please subscribe to the Ellacec Publishing YouTube channel. That assists me in reaching more individuals. You would be surprised at the number of people that I have run into that have told me that they want to write a book. And as I said, starting with show number one, Ellacec Publishing Live show number one, this is our forum. And so if you have something that you'd like to add, again, within the comments, you're welcome to do so. Or again, by way of the Ellacec Publishing channel, you can do so and let me know. And certainly the Ellacec Publishing website, that's really what I meant to reference there, the website and not the channel at this time, to let you know that there is a contact us area where you can give some feedback. And I absolutely welcome your feedback. Every time I'm live, I always have something that I call the purple board, and it lists off the different topics of what I'm going to speak on. Well, let me bring that up right now. Let's see what I will be chatting about today. 3 different subjects. I will talk about the definition of an antagonist, examples of an antagonist, and certainly last but not least, how to develop an antagonist. Those are 3 topics that I'm going to cover today. Now, you may be asking yourself, if you especially not been watching a couple of the past shows, what in the world have I been talking about different character types over my past couple of shows? Well, I did a show a few months ago on fictional characters. And during that show, I listed out these different character types. And it occurred to me it would probably be helpful to break those down a bit more. In case you didn't watch that show, I have a really short clip. I was dressed as a cat while I was having the conversation. Watch this short little clip coming up. Now, the antagonist tends to be just the opposite of the protagonist. This is the villain, the possible person that has a sad backstory. They exhibit some type of power, and they typically help the protagonist to grow. And this character has believable motives as well. Now, that's what I said just a few months ago, again, dressed as a cat and talking about a number of different character types. And I thought, let me break those down. As I just mentioned a few seconds ago, let me break those down. Let me give more detail in regards to what those different character types are all about. I last talked about the protagonist, and now I am talking about the antagonist. Well, since I brought up the protagonist, I have a little pop quiz for all of you. I'm going to bring up a particular character here by way of another short little clip, and I'm going to ask you at the end of this clip if you think this character is a protagonist or an antagonist. Let me bring that clip up. In the 1960s, we were watching a television that looked like this: V-shaped antenna, dial buttons, and Stan Lee created the Hulk. Check this out. And this is the character that I was referring to when I said I would have a pop quiz. And my pop quiz is, I'm wondering if you think the Hulk was the protagonist or antagonist. Do you think the Hulk was the protagonist or antagonist? If you would like to answer that question, you are welcome to place it in the chat before I reveal what that response is. I'll tell you just a teeny bit about that show. Oh my God, I love that show. The Incredible Hulk was the name of the show. Oh my goodness, it was good. I was a faithful watcher of The Incredible Hulk. You had this one individual, this character in the show named Bruce Banner. And Bruce Banner was exposed to these gamma rays, right? And after being exposed, anytime he would get upset, especially angry type of upset, he would turn into this green beast known as the Incredible Hulk. Now, again, I pose the question to all of you if you think the Hulk was the protagonist or the antagonist. Well, the answer is the Hulk was the protagonist. A lot of people may think that he was the antagonist because he was green. He looked kind of mean, right? But if you think about it, and if you go back and you watch a couple of those past reruns of the show, you'll see that when he did come out, the Incredible Hulk, when he did present himself, it was more in a protective type of mode. Check that out. Check that out. And you'll see that he was more of the protagonist. But again, today I'm talking about the antagonist, and I will get to the place of developing the antagonist. But before I do, I want to talk about this first area here being the definition of an antagonist. What is an antagonist in the first place? Well, the antagonist is the adversary of the protagonist, kind of like you see these opposing forces here on the screen. The antagonist creates conflict for the protagonist. There must be that conflict, that friction. The antagonist forces the protagonist to face challenges, and they definitely are good at doing just that. And then also in regards to the antagonist, this particular character helps to move the story along. We don't want any stagnation. We want constant progression. And also the antagonist could be an act of nature, an act of nature. Oftentimes we are thinking of an individual, a body, right, or a creature, but it can actually be an act of nature. I showed you just in that video clip, snow. I know people in the Midwest don't want to hear the word. Those of you that know me know that I love some snow, but that's a whole other story. So at the end of that last clip, we saw this snow that was in the picture, right? And we saw it being cleared by the snow truck. Well, that snow could certainly be an act of nature in a particular story because it could wreak havoc. Same thing as we know with water in general. Sticking with the snow, when that snow eventually melts, it could cause a flooding type of situation, which it certainly has done in different places all over the world that have snow. And so certainly, again, when we think about the antagonist, let's realize and think that we're not just talking about an individual, but we can also be talking about an act of nature. Let me pause for just a second and say a quick hello. I see a number of you tuning in and coming on board right now by way of Facebook and YouTube. I can see you popping in. Welcome. Welcome to Ellacec Publishing Live. I'm author Teresa Banks, and it is a pleasure to have you here. Now, I've given you some idea of what the definition of an antagonist is. I now want to give you some examples of an antagonist. I have 3 of them in particular. How about this one? Anthony Perkins. He was the antagonist known as Norman Bates in the film Psycho. That creepy music. Anthony portrayed two different well-developed characters in the film. Psycho was a book written by Robert Bloch and published on April 10th in 1959. It was adapted into a film by Alfred Hitchcock in 1960. I am one who actually loves horror movies. My first movie that I can recall years and years ago when I was a teen was Carrie. That was a horror movie. And this particular movie was something else. Needless to say, the book then was something else, right? And Anthony Perkins, by way of this Norman Bates character, playing two different roles, right? He was himself, Norman. And Norman was also his mama, playing his mother. And oh my goodness, at the end, we find that it was the mother who was after that young girl, right? I mean, that was just something. That movie was something. Some of you I know don't like horror, but I can get into some horror. Speaking of which, my second example is something else horror related. Kathy Bates. She was the antagonist known as Annie Wilkes in the film Misery. Misery was a book written by Stephen King and published on June 8th in 1987. I know some of you youngsters out there weren't even born then, but that's all right. It's good. It was adapted into a film in 1990. Baby, she played that role. Kathy played that role. Did you see that movie? I didn't read that particular book, but I saw the movie. She practically kidnapped that one guy after he got into an accident. Legs all messed up, feet or whatever was going on with him, right? Held him captive in her home, torturing the poor man. And then finally he got away. But she was definitely an antagonist in that role, with the individual, the gentleman, being the main character, the protagonist, and she carried the story, right? She helped to carry it and certainly move it along. Now, this third and final example is one that I know a lot of you can relate to. Certainly a lot of young kids can relate to this. And let's see if you will laugh as I did when I found this particular antagonist as an example. The Wicked Witch of the West. Here she comes, making her appearance. I conjured her up. Welcome, witch. The Wicked Witch of the West. She was the fictitious character created as the antagonist in the film The Wizard of Oz. L. Frank Baum published a book on May 17th in the year 1900 named The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The work was produced as an American musical fantasy film in 1939 by MGM and called The Wizard of Oz. Oh my goodness, she was something else, wasn't she? And over the years, we know there have been different types of films based on that book. One of my favorite was The Wiz, and that was a wonderfully crafted piece of work as well. But this particular witch, she played that role as the antagonist. In her case, certainly mean. And she was all about trying to get a hold of power, right? Remember, she wanted those those shoes from Dorothy, those ruby slippers that Dorothy had, because they held all of the power. And Dorothy was like, I'm not giving up my shoes. I know better because someone else told me better. The good witch said to hold on to those shoes. I'm not here to tell that story. But at any rate, the Wicked Witch of the West, another antagonist example. I've given you those three examples at this particular time. I'm now going to take just a short break, just 2 minutes. And when I come back after that short break, I will talk more about this subject matter of developing an antagonist. Stay with me. I'll see you right after the break. Hello, everyone. This is author Teresa Banks, and I'm here to tell you that the Ellacec Publishing website has a lot to offer. You can purchase all 5 of my books, including my 3 works of nonfiction: Becoming a Published Author, I've Got a Testimony and Surviving a Layoff. My 2 works of fiction are also available for sale from the website. Those include Barrenhood and Woman of Integrity. There are 5 different classes that I teach online, and you can register to attend those classes by way of the website. Those virtual classes include Surviving a Layoff, Zoom, PowerPoint, book marketing and promoting, and becoming a published author. You can purchase a video ad that will contain the content that you provide after you've made your purchase, and it'll be similar to the type of advertisement that you see by way of this particular video now. You can also buy jewelry that I've handcrafted myself, and you can purchase an I've Got a Testimony t-shirt. Go to the EllacecPublishing.com website today to make your purchase of any or all of the items that you see displayed here on the screen. You can also reach the website using the QR code located on the left-hand side of the screen. Thank you in advance for shopping at Ellacec Publishing. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ellacec Publishing Live. I'm author Teresa Banks, and I have been speaking on the subject matter of book publishing, developing an antagonist. Let me bring the purple board back up again. Let's see where we left off. I've talked about the definition of an antagonist and examples of an antagonist. And now I'm going to speak on this final area of how to develop an antagonist, how to develop an antagonist. Now, I do want to mention that I realize that AI exists, artificial intelligence. And if you have been following me, you know that I have kind of a love-hate relationship for AI. I get that AI is here. It does have some useful purposes. I've admitted that I've used it myself to help me to work on something, some project that I'm doing. But I want to caution all of you that are out there, especially writers, let's not replace our brains. Let's not replace our brains with AI. I'm totally, in my opinion, opposed to people writing an entire book using AI and then slapping their name on it. And I've given you cautions on not doing that, being careful in doing that, especially from a copyright perspective. Just a really quick recap in regards to that. Let's say that I use AI. I looked up something. How am I going to describe Los Angeles, right? And AI, let's say ChatGPT, the AI tool that's out there. Let's say I use that one, right? And I use it. I know my buddy William sometimes watches this show, or my buddy Gerald, or my sister Althea watches this show. Let's say Althea, that she decides also to ask ChatGPT, how do I describe Los Angeles? Well, who owns that copyright? Who owns the copyright? So just please be careful using AI. If you do use it, even to write a whole book, if that's your thing, you use it to write a whole book, that's fine. That's you. Do it. Do you, as people say. Just be careful. Please be careful. Change it up. Just change it up. That's all I'm saying. Okay, enough about that. I have preached enough, and I am not a preacher. I am now going to get into this last area, which is how to develop an antagonist. The meat and potatoes of the conversation. You need to create a great backstory. Describe their upbringing, mention their strengths and detail any trauma they experienced, be original, defining the character. So these are 4 things that you may want to take into consideration in regards to developing that backstory. I remember that my cousin Kenny, I mentioned him a few shows ago, we nicknamed him Pops, or maybe he nicknamed himself Pops, either way. Kenny, Pops, you know who I'm talking about. Relatives. I remember that my cousin Pops, first cousin Pops, picked up a copy of my book. He was one of my first customers. How cool is that when relatives support you? And he picked up Woman of Integrity. He read it cover to cover. He said, "Oh, I loved it. You did a great job, but I wanted to learn more. I wanted to know more in regards to those characters." And so he taught me my first lesson in regards to writing being that our characters need to have depth. They need to have depth. And the same thing when you're looking to develop your antagonist, create a backstory that's amazing, that is incredible. Give us some history in regards to that antagonist. Where are they from? What do they do? What do they do now? Do they have parents? If they're a creature of some kind, how were they created? Did they live somewhere where it caused some kind of weakness, or do they have some type of a strength that we as the reader need to know about? Let us know information in regards to that character. Build them up, develop them to help your reader really understand who that character is and really care about the character. Next up, let's move and talk a bit more in regards to developing our antagonists. We want to determine their motives. Give the character depth, as I just mentioned a moment ago, and intention. Identify their powers. Determine if they're seeking revenge. Outline why they oppose the protagonist and make it believable. I said before that the antagonist oftentimes is there and placed in the setting for the protagonist, right? And so we need to then know, well, what are they there for? What's their purpose? What's the end goal? And what is the game to get there, right? What's the path that they are taking to get to that road and that place? Sorry to put my hands in your faces. To get to that place where we, the character, really believe why they are opposing the protagonist and how they're helping to move that story along. There's one more area I want to mention in regards to developing an antagonist, and it's define their impact on the protagonist. We know their backstory, and we're trying to develop them further. But what ultimately is the impact? What's their relationship like with the protagonist? What changes are they forcing the protagonist to make? I talked about earlier the Hulk and Bruce Banner. If we think about the Hulk, for example, was he forcing Bruce to make any type of changes? Like, Bruce, you need to chill out. Do people still say chill out? Bruce, you need to relax. Or maybe you need to find out how to get rid of this gamma ray situation that turns you into me. You know, I'm speaking for the Hulk, right? That turns you into me. You need to find that out. You know, that would be in character that has this relationship with this protagonist being Bruce Banner, and that's trying to get that character to make some type of a change. Because by the end of the story, we don't want them to be in the same place that they were at the start of the story, right? There will be this beginning, and then there will be this midsection, and then ultimately there'll be a climax, and we will start getting to the end of the story. And by the end of the story, we need to have seen some movement. We need to have seen some kind of changes in that protagonist by way of the antagonist. I hope this information today has been beneficial to you. I'm going to tell you two more things before I let all of you go. One of them is to please look back at some past shows that I have done live. These are two that I really want you to check out. One of them I mentioned before, book publishing, fictional characters, when I was dressed as the cat and I was talking about those different character types. If you are looking to become published, you need to understand those different character types and what makes up those character types. And again, check out these individual videos that I'm doing, like this one that talks about the antagonist, like the one here that's listed, book publishing, developing a protagonist. And that QR code toward the bottom will give you a direct link over to the Ellacec Publishing YouTube channel where you will be able to check those out. And I have to say, doing the one dressed as a cat was a lot of fun. I do have to admit, my intention today was to have on some green lipstick and this green cap. I think some of you may have seen it in my promo videos with the real arched eyebrows and some green nail polish and just all of it. And then I realized I have a green screen going on behind me and you won't be able to see my green nail polish or my green lipstick and blah, blah, blah. So needless to say, I changed the show up and I'm not looking like the Hulkish type creature, but I did have that little plug in there for the Incredible Hulk. And all credit, of course, due to Stan Lee and the creators of the Incredible Hulk and the individual that put that video out there by way of YouTube. I thank you all for tuning in here today. Thank you so much for your support. I have been getting your feedback by way of Facebook, by way of YouTube. Again, you're welcome to go to the ellacecpublishing.com website and use that short, really short contact us form to reach me as well. Let me know some things that you want information on in regards to publishing. I've had a number of people say, copywriting, talk about copywriting. I will be talking about copywriting really soon. But before I talk about copywriting, I will be talking about another special character type coming up during the month of October. I'm going to show you by way of a little video that's going to play here in a second to give you just that sneak peek and that heads up in regards to what that show will be all about. Thank you again for watching. Those of you that have tuned in live, those of you that will check out the recording. If I can ever be of assistance to you or you have questions about publishing, drop me a message from the Ellacec Publishing website and you will definitely get a response. Take good care. Enjoy the rest of your day. And hang on a minute. Here is what's coming up in the month of October. See you then. Ellacec Publishing Live, broadcast on the third Sundays of every month from 3 o'clock until 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Like the Ellacec Publishing Facebook page and like and subscribe the Ellacec Publishing YouTube channel. Coming up on October the 19th, the topic will be Book Publishing, Developing the Foil. Go to the ellacecpublishing.com website where you can purchase copies of my books, t-shirts, jewelry, and a video ad. You can also register for classes that I teach online. This is author Teresa Banks. Thank you for watching today's program. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon.